everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for coming back. Today's video I wanted to talk about mental health and dealing with mental health in nursing school. I have been wanting to make this video for a while, like months now, but I've never seemed to have been able to do it. Like I've never been able to get around to actually doing it and actually sitting down and making this video. But I decided that I have extra time, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it and get it over with. And really talk about some personal things. But before I get into this video, you know, overall I'm doing really well. And if you guys are interested in an update, like I'm doing really well. I'm in school and I just started a PCA job. I'm in the orientation process, so I will make a video about that, you know, once I really get into that job. And I'm still in the orientation process, but it's going really well and I'm doing pretty well in school. I'm in adult health 2 right now, and I'm doing good. And it's really, I have no complaints with school. You know, it is what it is, and yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Now for this video, so to start with this video talking about mental health, the biggest struggle with nursing school is finding balance. Like I think that's kind of a huge thing that people get wrapped up in, is like finding balance for everything. And I think balance is different for everyone because we all have different things, we all have different lives. Like, you know, people have jobs, people have kids, people have relationships, family, you know, all kinds of things. And, you know, and then on top of that, all of those things, you have nursing school. And so finding balance, it's, like I said, it's different for everyone. So you have to do what's best for you. For me, like even for me, you know, I think what tends to happen is like for people like me, like I live at home with my family, I live at home with my mom. You know, for the first half, like the entire time that I've been in nursing school so far, I never worked. I was just a full-time student. But even then, even with just that, like I still struggled mentally. And so I'm really gonna get into like what really happened. So to kind of get into like the situation itself, last year, I spent 2021 for me, I spent that entire year in nursing school. I mean, of course I'm in nursing school and I'm still in nursing school, but 2021 from the very beginning all the way to the very end, I was full-time. I was a full-time nursing student. Class after class, session after session, I was doing it. And I have always been a very good student, and I've never really had any issues or worries regarding school and getting assignments done, getting work done. And as I mentioned, you know, my life and my circumstances allow me to be a good and efficient student, I would say. You know, of course, I have my own things that I do. Like, for example, I procrastinate. You know, a lot of people procrastinate, and that's fine. You know, as long as you get your work done and you do it good and you do a good job, then procrastinate away, you know? Like, for me, like, I procrastinate because it works for me, you know? Like, I keep doing it because it works every time, you know? But, of course, when it comes to really important things, you know, planning and getting organized is really good, and it's really effective. But last year, the whole year was nursing school. And the thing about nursing school, and especially at a school like Chamberlain, you know, school is year-round. I mean, it is spring, summer, fall, winter. You're in school and you're taking classes. And we do get breaks, but breaks are usually like a week long. And, you know, in my opinion, like that's not enough time. But, you know, Chamberlain has their own system, they have their own schedule, they have their own way of doing things. And so unfortunately, like when we do get breaks, they're not long enough. But when I do get breaks, I enjoy them. And my favorite break is winter break, because that break is the longest of all of them. But yeah, other than that, you're in school and you're taking classes and you're going through it. And like I said, we all have different circumstances. And so, you know, imagine you're in school, class after class, session after session, and then you got work and you got kids and you got everything else going on in your life. It's very easy to fall into, like, you know, burnout. You know, I think it's very easy for anxiety to increase and other issues related to mental health. It's very easy for these, you know, feelings to emerge and to rise. So for me, I was in school the whole year, and then towards the middle of the year, around the summertime, I had finished health assessment 1, and then I think we had a break in the summertime. Let me look at my schedule, because I need to remember. Yeah, so I finished health assessment 1, and then after health assessment 1, it was in the middle of the summer, we had a week off, and then we went into health assessment 2. And so we had a week off, which is like our summer break or whatever. And so we had our, you know, break, and then I started health assessment 2. And when I started health assessment 2, I started feeling off, like something was off within me. And I couldn't really pinpoint what I was feeling or what I was going through. So that session, when I had health assessment 2, I also had fundamentals. So health assessment 2 and fundamentals, those are 2 classes. And so, I mean, I was a full-time student, and we were approaching our first set of exams. And I just remember feeling really off, and just like, I felt like my motivation was like gone. Like it just wasn't there. Like I had no motivation. Like I knew that I had to study and I knew that I had to prepare, but it just wasn't really going for me. I didn't have fuel. And so the first set of exams came for both classes, and I didn't do well on either exams for both classes. And so my professors, like, in that session, you know, when you don't do well on an exam, you have to schedule like a meeting with your professor to kind of figure out what's wrong. And, you know, you schedule a meeting to figure out what's wrong and to go over, you know, questions that you missed and everything. And so this was like 3 weeks into the session that I was having meetings with my professor. And my professor, she was asking me the questions that I missed. And she was asking me, like, you know, what is this? What is that? Like, she was asking me questions about the topics that were covered that I missed on the exam. And the thing was, is that I knew the answers. And so, like, she was asking me, like, oh, what is this? What's that? And I was like, oh, this is this, this is that. And I gave her the answers. And so it was like, I knew the information. You know, I would attend class, I would pay attention and take notes and stuff like that. It's like I knew the information, it just was not, like, I didn't perform well on the exams that we had. And so my professor asked me, like, what's going on? Like, and I just remember telling her, I was like, you know, like, I feel like I'm in a funk. Like, that's kind of how I described it. I was like, I feel like I'm in a funk, like, I don't know, like something's just not right. And you know, I'm a good student. And I reassured her and I reassured myself, like, look, I'm a good student. Like, I'm not gonna have any issues. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna do what I need to do. And she was like, all right. And then she told me, she was like, you know, you gotta do whatever you can to, you know, defunk your life. Like whatever's stressing you out, you need to remove it. You need to move it to the side. You need to defunk your life. And I was like, okay, I'll see what I can do. I don't know. And so the session went on, and I kind of picked myself up, and I kind of just like, okay, like, you know, I dusted myself off, and I was just like, okay, you know, these next exams, I'm gonna do them, and I'm gonna do them fine. And so I went through that session, and I kind of, like I said, I picked myself up, I went through the session, and the session goes by very quickly as normal. And I managed to, you know, kind of resolve my issues, I guess, temporarily. And like, I survived and passed through that session. My grades were not too bad, you know. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, if you pass, you pass, and that's great. You know, I did the best I could, and, you know, I went through and I finished that session. So that session finished and it ended. And then I went into the next session, and we had like a 3-day weekend and something like that. So I really just kind of took that time off. But I was, you know, I went through that whole session and I finished it, but I still felt like something was off. You know, I still felt like brain fog and like all these other symptoms. Like, like I said, I felt like something was off, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was, but I knew that it was like mental related. And so I finished that session, went to the next session, and as soon as I started that next session, which was fundamentals and pharmacology, as soon as I started that session, I felt horrible. Like, I just felt absolutely horrible. I mean, I felt exhausted, and I felt tired, and I had absolutely no motivation. I had, you know, just nothing. Like, there was nothing in me that was like pushing me forward. And that session was actually the very first session that we had clinicals, which was really exciting. And I think that the thing that really made me go through that session was clinicals. And in that session, we had 4 clinicals. And going to clinicals during that session, I had clinicals in the second half of the session. Going to clinicals was a great experience, and it really kind of helped increase my motivation, because I was actually like in the hospital with patients, with nurses, you know, and it was great. But that session, I felt horrible. And I started off that session, I did pretty well on the exams, but it's just, I felt horrible. And my anxiety levels started to increase. I started to develop pretty bad anxiety. And then I started to develop like depressive episodes. There were days where I felt like I was in a chokehold. Like, my anxiety levels were really high. And I had moments where like I would have pretty bad depressive episodes, and I felt like the only thing I could do was just lay in bed all day and not do anything. And even though I had a bunch of assignments to do and things I needed to do and things I needed to get done, like, there were days that I just felt like I just couldn't do anything, and I didn't have the energy to do anything. I had fatigue, and, you know, overall, I was burnt out. Like, I realized that I was burnt out. And it just, to me at that time, it felt like no matter what I did, it just was not going away. Like, no matter what I tried to do for myself, nothing was helping. And at that point, like towards the middle of the session, I was struggling big time. And it was affecting my grades, especially in pharmacology. Pharmacology is a pretty big course and it's a lot of information, and I was behind. I was struggling, and no matter what I did, I just couldn't get myself out of it. And time went on, and I tried, like, I'm a very positive person in general, and I found it exhausting to try to be positive. Like, even trying to be positive was exhausting. That's how bad it was. And I will say this, like, in all of my time that I've ever spent in college, I've always been a full-time student. I have always been like a full-time student, tackling courses and stuff from the time I was in community college all the way till now. Like, I've always been a full-time student, and I've always gone after it. And in all the time that I've ever spent in college, I have never gone through anything like that before. Like, I have never felt that bad before. And so towards the middle of the session, there was just nothing that I was able to do for me to like pick myself up, especially in pharmacology. Pharmacology was the main class that I was like really struggling in. And when it comes to pharmacology, like, it wasn't so much the content. I mean, pharmacology is hard. Like, yes, it's a hard class. And for me personally, it wasn't so much the content, it was the amount of content that was really difficult and really hard. And so that's what really got to me, because in pharmacology, I took the first exam and I studied for it and I prepared as best as I could for it. And I got like a B on the exam. So it was like, I got it, you know, I had the information somewhere in my brain. It was just so much. And the thing about pharmacology is you really have to stay organized. Staying organized is super important. And as well as like when you're taking another class with pharmacology, like you need to balance both classes and stay organized in both classes in order for you to survive. You know, do the best you can. If you can make A's and pass, and great, like do whatever you need to do to do good in that class. But for me, my mental health was so low and it was so bad that no matter what I did, it just was not working for me. And so towards the middle of that session, I spent a lot of time thinking and pondering, and just, you know, I felt so bad. Like, I was having heart palpitations. My anxiety levels were so high, so intense. I was having anxiety for days at a time. I was having depressive episodes. I was going through all kinds of stuff. And so I had to I was like, I'm probably gonna have to drop pharmacology. Like, I'm probably just gonna have to do that. And it's a sacrifice that I'm gonna have to make for my own sake, and for myself. Every nursing school has its own policies when it comes to, you know, failing classes or dropping classes. And so I knew that by dropping the class, I was gonna be sacrificing, you know, my ability to stay in the program in the future if by any chance that I, you know, fail another class or I drop another class, you know. And I had to really like evaluate that, and, you know, and I had to really you know, evaluate that. And to me personally, I feel like those types of policies are so unfair, especially in a pandemic. Like, we're in a pandemic, we're going through a global events all the time. People are going through very personal things. And I don't agree with nursing schools having harsh policies like that. Like that, to me, I just think that's brutal. and you know, it's just unfair. But you know, it is what it is. Those are the rules that they have. And so I had to really sit and just evaluate and like, okay, I'm gonna have to make the decision to drop the class, and I'm gonna have to do it. And so I submitted an email to my advisor to drop the class, and I did. And when I tell you, the moment that I dropped pharmacology, I felt like this massive weight was lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I could breathe. Like, I felt like I could breathe again. And I just felt like this huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. And it was like a huge relief. It was like the thing that I really needed to do. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to stick it out and survive, but I realized it just wasn't gonna happen. I was probably gonna fail the class anyways, no matter what I did. So it was just something that I had to do. And oh my gosh, like the relief that I felt when I did that and when I made that choice, it was astronomical. But it wasn't the whole solution. So yeah, so like when I dropped pharmacology, it was a huge relief, but like I still needed to heal myself. And so I spent the rest of that session in fundamentals, and I was going to clinicals. And honestly, like I mentioned before, like going to clinicals was probably the best thing for me because it reignited my passion, and it reignited my interest and my motivation, because I had some amazing nurses in clinicals, and I had some really, really great experiences in clinicals. And so it really reinforced my interest in nursing and like why I chose this profession and why I came into this profession. But I ended up finishing with fundamentals, and the rest of that session, I really spent a lot of time healing and spending time with myself and taking time to rest. Because one thing that I really realized was like I had been in school for several years without very many substantial breaks and like rest. Like I had just been, you know, for a number of years now, like I had just been in school, hustling, taking classes one after another, you know. And so I was like, you know what, like I deserve to rest and to take a break, because like I have been going after this degree for so long now, like so I'm like I deserve to rest, and I deserve to take whatever time I need to rest. But I ended up finishing that session. So the thing with taking pharmacology, especially at Chamberlain, is the next session I was supposed to take Adult Health 1, but the thing is that pharmacology is a prerequisite for adult health, and so I couldn't move forward in taking Adult Health 1. So the next session that I had, and the thing about last year was that when I emailed the advisor, they said, well, pharmacology is not going to be offered again until next year in January. So I was like, okay. So the next session after I dropped pharmacology and I was in fundamentals, when that session ended, the next session I ended up taking 2 online courses. So I took nutrition and I took informatics. So there were 2 online courses, and for me, they were pretty easy and manageable. I mean, online courses are great for that reason, you know, like you can manage your time. You know, you don't have to show up to class or live class or anything like that. It's all pretty self-explanatory and great. And so after that session, fundamentals, I ended up taking nutrition and informatics, both online, and that was the last session of that year. And so when I tell you that I really took the time to heal and recover, and you know, after going through burnout, there were a lot of revelations that came to me. One of them was, you know, when it comes to mental health and being affected by mental health, there's a lot of factors. And one of them is your physical health. Like, I feel like people don't always talk about that. But being in nursing school for so long, I was pretty much living a sedentary lifestyle. I was not active. And then on top of that, I was in nursing school. And you know, when you're in nursing school, it's very easy to, you know, stress eat while studying and, you know, stuff like that. And so one of the revelations and one of the things that I kind of realized is, like, I ended up letting myself gain a lot of weight. Like, I gained a lot of weight really fast. And so, like, the heaviest that I weighed, I was like 208 pounds, which is a lot for me. I ended up gaining a lot of weight really, really fast. So, like, basically, I ended up gaining weight really fast, and as a result, like, I was having like health issues related to that. I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, it is recommended that you start like exercising and losing weight, because, you know, you've gained a lot of weight. And, you know, for myself, relative to me, like, I had gained a lot of weight pretty fast. And so that's kind of one of the things that I realized, was that, you know, when it comes to your health, you know, you have to think of it in a holistic way, and you have to think about how everything is kind of interconnected, like your mind, your body, your soul even, and, you know, if you're spiritual, your emotions, everything, all of those things are connected together. And for me, like, part of, you know, the reason that my health or my mental health was so low was because I neglected myself overall. I neglected my body. Like, I was not taking care of my body. And so as a result, I felt bad physically, and I felt bad mentally. And so one of the things that I really started, and I realized, and I finally had to sit down with myself and be like, okay, I have to make changes. Like, I have to do something different. And so at that point was like, okay, I'm gonna start losing weight. Like, I'm gonna start doing whatever I can. And you see behind me, this is my exercise bike. It's not a Peloton, although I wish it was. This exercise bike, literally, my dad found it at like a flea market, and it works. It's like wireless, and it's run on batteries. It runs on batteries, and it has like 4 exercise modes. It has resistance, so, you know, when you're cycling, it puts resistance, and so you really push and exercise your legs. And so it has like 4 exercise modes, and each one is like 30 minutes. And so I was like, okay, 30 minutes is not bad. And so I started making a promise to myself. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get on this bike every day for 30 minutes. I don't care how busy I am. I don't care what I have going on. I don't care what time. Like, every day I'm gonna get on this bike, and I'm gonna exercise, and I'm gonna do that. And so I started off, and, you know, like, I was not good at it. Like, I was struggling. Like, I was not in shape. So, I mean, I started getting on this bike, and I would struggle. Like, I had to stop and take breaks while riding the bike, because I was like out of breath, and like I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the strength to do it. But I forced myself to keep going until I finished those 30 minutes. And so I started doing that every day, and I would sweat, and then, you know, all of that good stuff. You know, it's good for your heart. Exercise is really good for your heart. It's good for your body, all of that. And so I started doing that every day. So that is part of the recovery for me, was like working on my body, you know, getting active. I started cutting out certain foods, like I stopped drinking sodas. I started cutting out sugar. I started making small changes, and that's kind of the thing I want to emphasize when it comes to healing yourself, you know, healing your mind, your body, whatever. Like, it's all about making small changes. Like, for me, cycling is good for me. Like, you know, you're gonna have a lot of trainers that are gonna encourage you to do jumping jacks and burpees and hurdles and crap like that, and it's like, no, I'm not about to do all that. Like, I'm not training to go to the Olympics. I'm just training for myself, you know? So cycling is good. Walking is good exercise. Sometimes with my mom and I will go walk around the neighborhood, and it's a mile. So we'll walk a whole mile around the neighborhood and come back. But overall, moral of the story, it's about making small changes, and over time it makes a difference. And you know, when it comes to taking care of my physical health, you know, I'm very proud to say that I've lost 35 pounds, and I'm really happy about that. And I'm very proud of myself. Like, I couldn't believe that I did that, you know? But if I could do it, anybody can. And it really takes a lot of willpower. Like, you have to be willing to make those changes and to go easy on yourself. Yes, you know, I still eat junk food every now and then. You know, every now and then I'll have a soda, whatever. Like, you know, sometimes I don't exercise every day, you know, because sometimes I'm tired, sometimes, you know, I have things going on. And so, but at the end of the day, I created healthy habits for myself, and I've been able to sustain those habits for, you know, for extended periods of time. And it's really benefited me physically, and it's benefited me mentally. You know, if I have brain fog, or if I have a lot of mental chatter and a lot of like brain fog and stuff, working out helps clear that. And it helps me feel better. And there are days where I don't feel like working out, but when I do, I feel happy and I feel glad that I did it. And exercise, like I said, it doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be, you know, super, you know, complicated. You know, that's pretty much how I can describe it. Like, getting on a bike is good. Walking is good. You know, you don't have to do, you know, hurdles like to exercise, you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be super complicated, you know, but just do it, and do whatever makes you feel happy, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. Now, as far as like mental health, you know, I had to do what I did to like reach out to people, talk to people. My family was my support system, and I reached out to my family and I told them what I was feeling, what was going on. It's when you're going through, you know, mental health situations, like, reach out to people. Like, please talk to people. Do not suffer in silence. Like, talk to your family, talk to your friends, reach out to a professional, you know. If you feel, and this is also another thing that I kind of want to get into, is like, there is absolutely nothing wrong with going on medications. I know several people that are on, you know, anxiety medications, antidepressants, because of nursing school. And honestly, like, there is nothing wrong with that. And as a matter of fact, more power to you. And if you feel like you need to do that, do it. Like, go for it. There is no shame. I feel like sometimes, like, there's always a stigma with taking medications or going on, you know, psychiatric or mental health medications and stuff like that, like, no, like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. For me, you know, if I experience stuff like this and I feel like I would benefit from going on anxiety medications, then I would, you know, because like I said, it's so important to maintain your mental health and your physical health, and you know, if you need to go on medications, go for it. For me, I decided to go more towards an alternative route when it comes to helping my mental health. For me, for me personally, I decided to go more towards, like, I guess like an alternative route. For me, I did research and I started looking into herbal medicine. And so, come here. So for me, I decided to go more towards, like herbal medicine, because I wanted to see what I could do, you know, for my health or my mental health, I guess like in a natural way. And like I said, there is nothing wrong with going on medications, but I wanted to try something natural before having to make the decision to go on meds. And so for me, I did research and I found different herbs. And I want to definitely give a disclaimer that, you know, even if something is natural, you still need to be careful. You know, if you're on medications, make sure you verify with your doctor. If you're pregnant or nursing, you know, please verify with your provider. If you have allergies, you know, because just because something is natural doesn't mean that it's 100% safe. You know, a lot of people put out that message, which I think is kind of dangerous, because herbal medicine, you know, you can still have side effects and reactions and things like that. So you need to be careful, and you need to do your research and find what works best for you. For me, like for example, there's an herbal remedy or like an herbal medicine called valerian root, and valerian is compared, it's pretty much considered like a natural form of Ativan. So if you know, Ativan is used for anxiety and in hospitals, and people take Ativan for anxiety and panic attacks and things like that. So I bought a tincture of Ativan and I started taking it, and I also bought some other herbal remedies as well. I bought valerian, I bought ashwagandha. Ashwagandha has increased a lot in popularity, and that one is definitely, and like I said, when it comes to all, you know, herbal medicines, make sure you do your research. Like, you know, like I said, just because something is natural doesn't mean that it's 100% safe. Like, you just never know. For me personally, I treat herbal medicines the same as like pharmaceutical medicines. Like, you know how as nurses and as student nurses and nursing students, we are taught to look things up and to research. So I definitely take that into herbal medicines. But overall, like, you know, explore your options. Like, you know, do what you can for yourself. And for me, I was amazed. For me personally, I was amazed at how well herbal medicines like worked for me. And I'll tell you in a real life example. Like, I started taking herbal medicines that I researched on and I bought. And I remember, like, I started taking them and I started feeling a little bit better. Like, I noticed my anxiety decreased a little bit. But then I woke up the next day and like half of my anxiety was gone. Like, I felt so much better. And so I was amazed. Like, I couldn't believe how well they worked for me. But then again, like, I want to stress, do your research, do what's best for you. If herbal medicines didn't work for me, then that's fine. I would have gone then to find out what else can work for me, what else is gonna work. You know, go to the doctor, go to a psychiatrist, go to a psychotherapist, whatever. You know, don't be afraid to explore your options, and you know, don't be afraid to try alternative things as well. You know, there's nothing wrong with exploring. You know, that's really what I want to say. Overall, I will definitely say, you know, when it comes to like experiencing everything that I experienced, everything that I went through, burnout and all of these things, like, I learned a lot of valuable lessons. I learned a lot of valuable lessons about taking care of myself, and that's important because I'm going into a profession where I'm helping other people. And you know what they say, you cannot help others until you've helped yourself, and that's important. And so everything that I've done for myself to help myself has really benefited me a lot, and I feel great. Like, as time has gone by since last year, or the end of last year, like, I feel great and I feel awesome, and I've been going through school and I haven't had any issues. And on a spiritual level and on a spiritual note, I will say, like, things happen for a reason, and I believe that I went through those experiences because it taught me how to take care of myself. I learned how to take care of myself, and for that I'm grateful. You know, I've learned and gained wisdom from those experiences, and so I hope I can share that with you guys, and I hope that, you know, I don't want to scare anyone, because, you know, there's a lot of horror stories about nursing school and how awful nursing school is. I hope that I can share my wisdom with you guys, and that you guys I can encourage you guys to start making whatever changes you need to make to help yourself. And like I said, you don't have to do hurdles. You don't have to do burpees. You don't have to, like, you know, do, you know, super complicated stuff. Like, you can make simple changes and help yourself. And that's really what I encourage. That's really what I encourage people to do. Oh, and I was gonna say also, this is also really crazy. Like, on a spiritual note, as I mentioned, everything happens for a reason. So the interesting thing that happens, and like, this is just crazy how the universe works, but when I dropped pharmacology and I took nutrition and informatics, like, the way that my classes organized themselves, they organized themselves in a way where now, as I continue through the program, like, now all through this year, 2022, every session I'm only going to be taking one class. So, like, things worked out well for me, and I'm like, this is great. Like, literally the beginning of the year, January session, the only class I took was pharmacology. I ended up taking pharmacology again, and I took it by itself. And when I tell you, I conquered that class. I knew what I was doing. I started the year off in pharmacology, and I was like motivated, and I was studying, and I was getting after it. And I went through that class and I conquered it. I then started Adult Health 1, and now I'm in Adult Health 2, and so far it's been great for me, and I feel great. And so, like, you just never know, like, how things will work out, but, you know, have faith in yourself, have faith that things will work out. And, you know, if you really believe and truly believe that things happen for a reason, and you seek to find the wisdom in your experiences, like, you can come out on top. And I know I have. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I don't know what else to say, but yeah, like I said, don't feel bad about reaching out. Do what you can to help yourself. That's pretty much all I have to say. I don't know what else to say. Please take care of yourself. Honor yourself, honor your body, honor your mental health. You know, do whatever you need to do for yourself. And you know, when it comes to school, when it comes to your education, it is not a race. It is not a competition. Like, this is your journey. This is your degree. You're doing this for yourself. You're doing this for your family, your kids, if you have kids, whatever. Like, you are doing this for you. You're doing this for your family, whatever. Like, you need to remind yourself that. And there is nothing wrong with making decisions that are going to benefit your highest and greatest good. So with that, I will close out this video. I know this video is lengthy. Once again, I make long videos, I know, but I have a lot to share and I want to share it. So, but thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a like, thumbs up, leave me a comment, ask me questions, follow me on Instagram. You know, don't feel bad to reach out to me. You know, I'm here for y'all. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.